Okay, hello everybody. I think we can start the panel. So nice to see you. Thank you very much for being here. First of all, I would like to thank Marché du Film for organizing this panel. My name is Juraj Krasnorski. I'm a producer from Slovakia. Some of you might know me through the CE Animation Workshop, where I'm responsible for the programming as head of studies. And today's program, called also Focus on Asia, is Spotlight Asia, is co-organized with Ties That Bind, EAVE workshop, and the panel that we will be having today specifically on the topic of how to make co-productions of animation, specifically feature films. We'll talk a little bit about series also, but mainly features possible between Europe and Asia. And it has been put together also in collaboration with a new initiative called ATF Cross Ties That Bind Animation Lab, where ATF stands for the Singaporean Asia and Television TV and Film Market Forum. So together with me today, let me just briefly introduce the panelists. Once again, thank you very much for accepting it. So on your left side is Ayumi Inoguchi from Japan. Then we have, thank you for the applause. Then we have Irvin Han from Singapore. Then we have Jean-François Lecor from France, so all three producers. And then we have Simon Crow from SC Films International Sales Agent based in UK. Welcome. So thank you very much for being here. Of course, it's a very wide topic to speak about Asia as well as to speak about Europe and the possibilities. So it was hard to choose participants to cover such a huge region, but I think with it, I think a very good choice with having Japan represented, because obviously for many people, animation and Japan is kind of very close synonym. And then also, I'm very happy that we have Irvin sort of tapping more into the Southeast Asian part of Asia. Jean-François for France, France being one of the, of course, leading countries in terms of animation, both in variety of content, available funding, and size of the audience also. And then I'm very happy to have you, Simon, here, because when I look at your lineup, I really see a very interesting diversity of projects that you have the courage to step in. That it's not exclusively oriented on some concrete region, but you really choose projects around, and I will be very happy to discover more about how you choose the projects and how you enter in that. But before entering in more discussions, which will be really centered towards asking ourselves the question, like, what is possible, what is there, how can we make more, what is new, because there are new things. One just small thing that I would like to highlight is that yesterday there was a very nice presentation organized within this same format at Marché du Film, which was called, I think, the financing roadmap, Europe and Asia. And there was a really detailed, nice presentation of all the available financing, and some of them as recent as launched yesterday. So I really highly recommend you to find that on the Marché du Film webpage and download the presentation, because you have a very clear presentation of what you can get in Indonesia, what you can get in Singapore, both in development and co-production and so on, and we will get to that. But before, so to start, I would like to give the word now to each of the panelists, one after the other, so that they have the opportunity to present a little bit what they do inside their companies and how those projects already sort of point into international co-productions. I think it should be on, maybe.
Hello, hello, is this on?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Hello, I'm Ayumi from Studio 4C. It's a animation production studio based in Tokyo, Japan. It was founded in 1986, and since the foundation of the studio, our main focus has been on feature-length animated films. And what I do at the studio is I'm a producer and the director of international operations. So I am with the CEO/producer of the studio, Eiko Tanaka. We structure financing of film projects. And I also do international sales of our films. I also do submission to film festivals. And well, 99% of the people at the studio are creators, so I do lots of different things. And the Fortune favors Lady Nico, the big poster in blue. That's the latest film that we released in theaters in 2021. Next slide, please. Yes, and the one on the right side, left side, Future Kid Takara is the latest film in development right now, and we are seeking to find a co-producer on this. We would like to do international co-production on this film. And the other one, Phoenix Eden 17. This is a film that we will go into release in theaters this year. And also, there will be a worldwide streaming on Disney Plus. Next slide, please.
Next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you. And these are some of the recent films from the studio. So Pupil of Chimney Town, this is the film from 2020, and this is actually handled by Simon of SC Films right now, and I wanted to introduce that. And Children of the Sea is a film from 2019, and this is a film which we co-produced with some multiple Asian companies. We got equity investment from Asian countries. And Mutafukazu, the one on the right side, is we collaborated with a French company, Ankama. It is an adaptation of French comics, Bande dessinée Ankama, and we created this film, like collaborated in deeper creative level. So I thought that this might be a very good example for possible collaboration, co-production between European and Asian companies. And I look forward to learning and speaking with all of you today.
So, Ayumi, let me take this example of this film Motherfuckers that you did with France. Can you tell us a little more about the structure and how you cooperated? Where is the initiative coming from, and what have you done on that project?
So this project came from Ankama to us. Like they were looking for a studio. Well, they wanted to work with us to make an animation film, and so well financially we didn't participated, but so we developed the script together. We had them coming to our studio in Japan, and our creators went over to France and developed script together. And we had a director on our side and their side. It was like a co-directed film. And yes, and from storyboarding and all through the production process was done in Japanese studio, and Ankama did post-production.
And so I understand that the reason why they came specifically to you was because you are known for a specific style of animation, and they were looking for that. Is that right?
So yeah, we are focused on creator-oriented projects, and we make like high quality like dance animation, and yes, that is what they were looking for, and they wanted to make something different with us. That's what I believe.
Okay, yeah, no, it definitely is there. So thank you very much for the presentation. Let's move to Erwin for a presentation of his company, Robot Playground Media from Singapore. Erwin, can you tell us a little more?
Yeah, hi, hello everyone. Very glad to be here. We're an animation studio in Singapore. We're about 10 years old. Right, we lean really more towards 2D, but we also have a small little CG post-production unit. So we have been doing series for most of the last 10 years. Right now we're starting to ramp up for our first animated feature. If it happens, it will be the first feature out of Singapore in about 10 years. right? I think Southeast Asia across the board, generally, it's a very young animated feature market, you know. I think there's something we're going to talk about a little bit later on. There is this real desire to you know, dive into that format because it's got a very storied decades of history in animation, but largely has been you know, service outpost. So I think that's something that we hope to help change. This particular project, The Violinist, is something we've been developing for about 7 years, so we're about to start storyboards. It's a story set against the backdrop of Singapore during the Japanese occupation during the Second World War. Right, so it's about two childhood friends and musicians who, you know, when the invasion happened, their lives take very different paths, and it spans 80 years of their life. I liken it to like the pianist meets Millennium Actress, that kind of a story. Right, so it's very much a story about who we are, where we come from. We are currently setting it up as a Singapore, Malaysia, Spanish production, right? Because most of the story happens in Singapore and Malaya, which is present-day Malaysia. So I think it makes a lot of sense. We also wanted a European sort of input because our animation director, Raul Garcia, he's Spanish. He also has a long history in Disney. Obviously, you know, we draw from a lot of anime influence, but we also want to lean into some of the very classic Disney lines and the elegance of European 2D animation to try to create a look that feels distinct. Maybe a Southeast Asian look. I don't know what look is that, but hopefully we get there. Yeah, but this is something that we are very excited to start working on very soon. Next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
I'll just talk about another project very quickly. A very different project. This is a horror adult animated anthology series. It's adapted from a book written by a Chinese author, Inchang Compostine, which is a series of short stories, ghost stories. Each one is based around a Chinese dish or a Chinese food. Because in Chinese customs, you know, every 7th lunar month of the year, the gates of hell open and the ghosts come out and roam our earthly realm. You know, and these ghosts are hungry, right? So Chinese customs is we have to provide food offerings and entertainment so that the ghosts shall not be upset and come and disturb you. Right, so this is something that's practiced by Chinese communities all around the world, you know, across the Chinese diaspora, and we're adapting it into an animated anthology. We're assembling some really strong, really exciting studios from Southeast Asia, and also parts of Europe to contribute to this anthology. What's interesting, I find, is that because the Chinese diaspora is very, obviously there's a strong global influence culturally, especially in the food. I think we all sort of have our own favorite Chinese food, perhaps, right? So it's something, when we speak to some of the European partners, you know, the French studios, you know, very often they get it right away, right? So each of these stories is set in a different global city around the world. So again, there is the international flavor to it. And we're in production now of the pilot, right, which is commissioned by a local broadcaster. So this is something we hope to start to do a little bit of push starting from Annecy in a few weeks' time. Yep, I think these two are.
So is this the first time you actually launch this on the market?
I think so, yeah.
Oh, okay, so very exclusive. Okay, thank you very much. This is this is a really interesting title for, I think, immediately for everyone.
There's another slide, maybe.
Ah, sorry, of course.
Flash.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's another slide. Yes.
Yeah. So the top left corner, that's the pilot that we're currently in production. You know, the food there is egg fried rice. And then other foods are like dim sum, hot pot, Peking duck. You know, each one is a little horror story. Yeah.
Yes, actually, you touched on something that I would like us to develop more later in the discussion. That a meaningful co-production always needs to have something that at the same time feels local enough, so that there is the thing that is specific to where it's coming from, but at the same time it needs to be accessible and understandable to audiences worldwide. That's what we are looking for, and yeah, immediately this title sort of speaks right to the audience. So that's a good example. Jean-François, may I ask you to make a short presentation?
Yes, of course.
Vivement Lundi.
The company is 25 years old. We are not based in Paris or in Angoulême. We are based in the west of France. Is that possible to have the first slide?
Yes, I'm trying to put it,
right,
but maybe I let the régie.
And we started to co-produce in 2005, and with short. We learned to co-produce with short. We have two identities in animation: stop motion and 2D. And you have some kind of TV series, TV specials, or documentaries, because we are still producing documentaries. We are really proud of Memorable, which has been our first Oscar nomination for an animated short. And we are 3 producers, and we have a production company, Vivement Lundi, that means Up on Monday in English, and a production studio, Nobody's Perfect, who can work for Vivement Lundi, but not only. The studio was involved, for example, in the executive production of the Valiant Quest, the heroic quest of the Valiant Prince Ivando, which is now on Cartoon Network. And for the stop motion part, we are just finishing the sets and the props of Savages, the new movies by Claude Barras, this incredible, amazing director of My Life as a Courgette. It's a new production that will be probably on screen next year. The other slide, please. We came to biggest formats with the producers that we learned to co-produce with Dimitri, which is it's a TV series for a preschool audience of 50 episodes of 5 minutes, co-produced between France, Belgium, and Swiss, with France Télévisions involved and the 2 other public channels. We have been the French co-producer of Flea, this amazing animated documentaries, and we learned a lot because with Dimitri we learned with French-speaking people. We had the same culture of co-production. Working with Denmark, Sweden, and Norway was another way of working. No Dogs Are Italian, it's a stop-motion animated movie, a very complicated co-production between France, Belgium, Swiss, Italy, and Portugal. It's a success now in the French cinemas with around 200,000 admissions. Yuku is a musical co-produced between France, Belgium, and Swiss. And this magnificent cake is a jewel, is here in the slate because it was in the Quinzaine des Cinéastes. I had the premiere in 2018. And we worked in Asia in 2012, in 2014 with China and Philippines on 2 TV series, but the Asian countries as executive producers. And now, if you can push the next slide, we are involved in many projects. Shepherdess Warriors is a TV show of 26 episodes of 26 minutes, which has been pitched in Cartoon Forum last year and which is in development. Me and My Compost is 52 episodes of 11 minutes in pre-production for France Télévisions. It's a co-development and co-production with another French company, Superprod. Suzanne in another animated documentary, grand format, that means feature for Arte, but it's a TV special. Olivia, it's an animated stop-motion feature coming from Spain. Often Wanted Things and People is coming from Czech Republic. And The Horn Quartet Goes to Bollywood is our new project in 3D CGI that we pitch in Cartoon Movie in March. And for the Asian part, the last thing, because it's a topic of this roundtable, we are involved, our studio, in the development of a stop-motion show for preschool audience. The content, the creativity is coming from Japan because it's a short, a very famous short, Mogu and Perol, created by Dwarf Studio in Japan, which is becoming a TV series produced by Zephyr Animation in France, and it's in development with France Télévisions. And we are involved now in the development of the series, and probably I will come back to this kind of early development, which for me it's a very important key of co-production.
Yes, you are definitely not scared of co-production.
I like that.
You even co-produce with me, and I see the number of projects. How many Jean-François are there? Really?
There is a Jean-François, there is a Mathieu, and there is an Aurélie. We are 3 producers, a small team, but very well organized.
Yes, but most of the co-productions are European co-productions.
Yes, yes. At least we have a small co-production with Argentina at this time because we want to test how to work with Latin America because they have a big culture of stop motion and very good studios. We are really interested in Japan. Mathieu was in Japan in Yokohama in December to meet Dwarf Animation, and that was really interesting because we discovered that this stop motion animated studio in Japan had exactly the same problem as our company, the lack of talents in animation in country where animation is not, it's only a niche production as for us. And I believe that we have it's a new territory to discover and to maybe to co-produce a new project.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Thank you very much for your presentation. Simon, would you like to tell us more about your slate of projects?
Yeah, of course. Good afternoon, everyone. So SC Films is 17 years old now. We're based in London, and my career has followed a sort of typical sales and distribution background. So I started in junior sales at Mel Gibson's Icon Entertainment International, doing some big studio type films, and then set up my own company. And being English, we focused on English language films, mainly looking at North America, the UK, and then I started looking at more European production. I never really thought about co-production with the Far East, to be honest with you. We focused on Europe and North America. But the world has changed, and over the last 10 years, we've seen a real development of production from the Far East, and our first sort of dip in the water, as it were, was with a Chinese film called Monkey King, A Hero Is Back. And what happened was basically I met this chap from Beijing at the AFM, and he pitched me a project like everyone, probably most of you do in the room. And I watched his trailer and I just said, actually, you know what? I quite like this. This was the best bit of footage I'd seen from China. And China was the fastest emerging market in the world. And it turned out to be a Monkey King, A Hero Is Back, which was the #1 independent animated film in China at the time, and it took $155 million at the box office in China, and we sold the entire world within about 6 weeks. So it was a fantastic start, and then it opened my eyes to looking at other films, and the next one was Big Fish and Begonia from China, which again was completely different. It was anime style, but one of my colleagues fell in love with this movie and just said, we have to do it. And it was a similar experience. We did this film, we took it to market, we screened it in the market, and again, it got a lot of connection. And that's basically how I look at business from SC Films. We're looking for stories that, first and foremost, are good stories, but have universal appeal. And that can come from any country in the world. And I think we were just talking a little bit earlier, is it Netflix and Squid Game and Parasite that have opened the world's eyes to everything that is going on, whether it be in Japan or Korea or China or Singapore? And I think it's really interesting times at the moment. So in fact, we've now gone a little bit crazy and are doing a co-production in the Philippines. I've just done a Japanese-Philippine live-action film as well. And we're trying to close another film with Singapore at the moment, which if you had asked me 10 years ago, I'd have gone, I'm crazy, because I would have just been focused on the English language. So I think it's very, very exciting times. Is there another one there?
You have 2 more.
Big Fish. So there's Monkey King, which you might recognize. Again, I don't know about you guys, but Monkey King was a story I knew from my childhood. And I thought, if I know that story, then I'm sure there will be other people around the world that will know that story outside of China. And then that brings us up to date with Poupelle. Again, looking at different cultures, different styles of animation. And in fact, Poupelle has now launched us into looking at a stop-motion animation from China, which we've never done stop-motion before. But the company is a fantastic studio, and we're excited to be working with them. And so I think from SC Films' point of view, we're looking for universal stories, and then we're looking for great producing partners, whether that's the producers or the animation studios themselves. And then, hopefully we can link maybe the Far Eastern studios with studios in Europe, so that we can access all the European soft monies as well. And I think, that is going to be crucial to making films going forward, is going to be co-production with Europe. Unfortunately, I shouldn't really say that out loud, but unfortunately I live in the UK, and we have just exited Europe. which I think is going to prove to be a little bit of a mistake going forward. But hopefully we can arrange co-productions for you guys in France and Germany and Spain, etc. So SC Films was interested in sales and distribution. I'm interested in great stories that can travel around the world.
Okay, let's talk about one particular on which you stepped in also financially, that you picked up already in an early stage. I'm talking about the Filipino project by Avid, Laringoran. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I'd like to play a clip later about that. So can you just introduce the project?
Yes. So I don't know whether I'm going a little bit crazy as I get older, but we got sent, as quite often happens, you know, because we're known for doing lots of animation titles. And when I say lots, I mean we look at 1 or 2 movies a year. So that, but because of the duration of production, it seems like we do a lot of films. And through various circles, whether it was cartoon movie or Annecy, which I always think are the best 2 events in the world for animation, I got introduced to a French and a Philippine producers. And they sent me a clip of a film called Zaza Saturna. And I'd never heard of this project before. And the clip intrigued me because it's an LGBTQ plus superhero movie. And I thought, I've never heard of this before. I can't think what it's about. But basically, the clip was really good. And then we had the producer from the Philippines sent me the animatic and said, look, this is the film. Are you interested in representing it around the world and helping us raise finance and helping us get the film made? And what I loved about the first experience was I watched the film. I thought it was really good, which is unusual because most animatics I watch are not very good. But it was a really good film. And in my typical, slightly critical way, I wrote a list of about 50 points that I wanted to discuss, the good and the bad of the film. And by the time we had our first Zoom call, he had already solved 25 of the points. And I thought, that's the man I want to work with because he is open, he listens, and he's also ahead of the game. So it's also, with co-production, as you guys all know, it is about relationships. You've got to be able to work together and listen to each other.
So I think Avid is a huge talent as an artist, and I think he's also somehow known in the region. You also know him, right?
I know Avid. He's quite a.
He's amazing.
He's a genius.
He's amazing.
And so you immediately, but I really wanted him to be actually here. It was not possible because he's so much into the production of the film.
I hope so. I hope he's working hard.
And of course, they work in an economy that is kind of difficult on very small budget. I mean, ridiculously small budgets. If we
Let's
start,
not talk about that in public.
Let's not talk about that in public. But I really want to show you a video that he prepared for us. He wasn't able to come, but it shows, I think, pretty nicely what is the case for a lot of setups in that Southeast Asian region, where you have a creator that at the same time has a studio, at the same time has to live out of commercial service works, but at the same time tries to put his own voice into films and make them travel. So if I can ask you please to play the video. Thank you.
Hello, we are Rocket Sheep, a tiny indie animation studio from the Philippines. We are made up of 5 artists and 2 dogs. We regularly do commission work for advertising and music videos, so that we don't go hungry as we pursue our passion of producing our own films. We have made a number of shorts through the years and have made 2 feature films so far. The first one, Saving Sally, was a mix of live action and animation. It's about a boy who secretly loves a girl, but the girl has a penis monster for a boyfriend. It was mostly self-produced but also made possible by the CNC French Film Fund. It took us 12 soul-crushing years to make, mostly because of our own inexperience and lack of bulk cash at hand. Thankfully, it had a theatrical run in the Philippines and won many awards in genre film festivals back in 2017. Although we fumbled the worldwide distribution because we had no idea how to do that. Our second film is a soap opera satire about the illicit affair between a proletariat pussycat and a bourgeois business dog, entitled Hayop Ka, or You Animal in English. This time, we vowed not to make the same noob mistakes, so we partnered with a much more experienced producer who had rock-hard abs and would handle distribution and marketing. We also managed to complete the film in under 4 years, so yay to progress! But the pandemic happened, and all our original theatrical plans were destroyed. Hayapka went to Netflix instead, and was released across Asia.
It had a great festival run in the Western world and was the first film from the Philippines to compete in ANSI.
We are currently working on a couple of other films. Light Lost, a film for kids, is in the development stage. It's about an adventurer who loses his partner to an interdimensional portal. He goes through many hardships to find her, only to realize that she does not want to be rescued. Our other film, Jaja Zaturna vs. the Amazonistas of Planet X, is currently in production. It's the story of a shy gay man who finds a magical rock that transforms him into a flamboyant female superhero, ready to defend her hometown from rampaging monsters, malicious zombies, and snooty alien fashionistas. We have been lucky enough to receive prize grants from Bifan and Locarno. We are securing partners so we won't have to keep selling our kidneys. As filmmakers, we have yet to experience financial success. We remain a struggling studio, doing our best in figuring out how to make animated filmmaking in the Philippines a sustainable endeavor. Our long-term advocacy is to encourage local animation production. In the global animation industry, the Philippines is a go-to nation for outsourcing animation services. We are home to thousands of talented animators, but sadly, we are not known for ideating and producing our own work. There have been less than 10 animated feature films in the entire 100-year history of Philippine cinema, and we want to continue adding to that, while also hoping that little by little, someday, Filipino animators can be known not just as service providers, but as creators as well. For now, we consider ourselves very lucky to have food money and the ability to continue working on our films. We love what we do, and we hope you watch our stuff. Thank you!
I think it was very well put. Simple, understandable, and yes, that pretty much sums up the situation. A lot of experience, a lot of manpower, studios, they are there, and coupled to that, a desire to start telling own stories. I had the chance to meet Avid and some other creators from Philippines and the region some 3-4 years ago during a workshop called Full Circle Lab, and I really was surprised to see the quality of the stories. The other project by Avid, for example, is very poetical, Light Lost. I was working on that film with him. So a variety with always some local flavor, but at the same time something that speaks to audiences worldwide, be it the humor or the poetry or the magic realism or these things. So I would like to open the discussion now. I think we are entering in an era that Europe perhaps knew, let's say at the end of the 80s, beginning of 90s, where co-productions started to be a thing. It came around with the creation of funds such as Creative Europe Media or Eurimage, specifically designed for co-production. And I think it came along together also with creation of specific workshops that were bringing together the producers and kind of like, first of all, making them spend time together in order to network, to get to know each other, but also then teaching them the tools on how to do co-productions. And so I have the impression from the presentation yesterday also that the film funds and maybe the governments of the countries in Asia and Southeast Asia also understood that there needs to be the financial support. Perhaps also the rise of new initiatives in terms of workshops are doing their job. We see many Southeast Asian films also here in the selection, and all of them went through these kind of labs, so maybe there is something connected to that too. But there are maybe also some reasons why this doesn't work that well, and I would like to basically hear your opinion on it. I don't know. Jean-François, would you like to start? So you have a project where you do something with Japan, right? But not directly connected. How does that work?
No, it's a special case because it's a property coming from Japan that has been a great success. It's a short that has been in stop motion that has been a great success in festival, and a French producer decided to work with the studio to develop this short into a TV series for preschool audience, and the project has been pitched at Cartoon Forum, which is one of the main pitching session or event in Europe for European project. You have around 1,000 buyers, investors, producers, and broadcasters, of course, in this event. It's in September in Toulouse, and France Télévisions is involved in the co-development of the project, the funding part of the development. But that's important to precise that the project arrived on the French market with a strong French producer, Zephyr Animation. The French market is rich. We have a lot of big studios, we have money, we have a lot of cinemas. The cinema market is very powerful, especially for anime from Japan. You have a huge market for that. But if you want to co-produce, it's not so easy to come alone or as major producer. You have to find the good balance and the good partner. It can be a strong French co-producer or a good French co-producer, but with an early development. You learn to work together. You learn how works the French market with his partners. That's what we made with the other co-production. It's the same rule with any countries, or with a strong French sales agent. The problem, for example, for the broadcasters is that you have so many projects waiting for money, French project, majority project, that it's not so easy to enter into this kind of funding with a major French minor co-production. That's for more for TV. For cinema, you have more opportunities because you have many selective funds in France. At first, I'm thinking about independent animation. Maybe is a Philippine project can be a kind of independent movie. It's more, it's so personal, so singular. We are not talking about family entertainment in 3D CGI with a mainstream story. You have this kind of funds, regional funds. You have L'aide au cinéma du monde, the support to cinema worlds, which can support a project with French minor co-producer. And especially for the regional fund, you could find international co-development support. And for me, it's a good way to enter, especially for independent animation or art house or animation for aiders, which are always difficult to fund. You can enter, not slowly, but with a kind of strategy to enter and to understand the French market with this kind of support. And after, if your French partner are, for example, automatical support for cinema or for TV, he can be able to invest money in a co-development too. You have this kind of possibilities in French. And to learn how to work, the differences of culture, of writing. We are talking about humor. We were sharing our different experiences.
We're saying that the humor, yes.
For example, when we started to work with a Chinese studio, at the beginning of this series, we had 70% of retakes on each episode. It was not a question of quality of work. It's because the animation team didn't understand what we were expecting. We changed. The next time we worked with a Philippine studio, and it was great. We shared something cultural. That means that, for example, it was the head of animation spent a few time in Manila to learn, to understand how the team was working. He came back and he said, it will be easy to work with them. We can share the same humor. It's not a question of language. It's a question of what we can share and what we can understand.
Of course, I think that there are more things in what you are saying that are important to highlight. First of all, it's not Asia. It's many countries.
Yes, of course, it's as Europe.
Very different countries in terms of culture, in terms of or also how they work and the setups of the studios and so on. So traveling there, I imagine, is one important ingredient to actually get to know the people and see how it works. And some might fit for a particular style of film and others might not. So I understand also with Japan that there would be, like, if you are looking for a very particular style of animation, you go to Japan for that. But what might be the Ayumi, maybe the problems with Japan? We were mentioning maybe.
Speaking about like French-Japan co-production, as I understand, it's a little bit so because we don't have a co-production agreement between governments. As I understand, it is not easy for us to access French soft money on a larger scale. Yeah, that's one thing that I learned so far. Well, we've been trying to do co-production, and it's been a little bit difficult. Yeah, why? Well, one thing is like maybe how we structure, like how we finance a film in Japan. So usually we form a production committee with national companies, domestic companies, and that this production committee can be pretty conservative. Like
This is what we would call co-producers in Europe.
Okay, yeah, yeah, but we try to exclude other nationality, like from the other producers from other countries. Like we want to do it, all with Japanese people, and that can make things difficult, and that will how do I say it? Like, and this committee tends to focus on Japanese market only, but since the market has been changing and the Japanese market is getting smaller, I would say, and so we need to open up more and try to explore the possibility of releasing the film wider, not only focusing on Japan. So we really need, it's a stage like it is the stage that we need to step outside of Japan and really create a film. And in my opinion, a producer from Europe or any other country needs to join at the really early stage of a project, so that Japanese producer would know they are joining, and then they can structure how we finance in Japan. We can avoid very, very conservative Japanese production committee.
So co-development would be actually the way. What was Jean-François mentioning, that really starting very, very early on to develop the project together.
That's the key, I think.
What about the language? I wanted to ask about that. Like, is that an issue in Japan, or?
Well, I mean, in terms of production.
In terms of understanding of the teams?
Yes. Well, many Japanese creators, they communicate in Japanese language, so that can be a difficult point for us to communicate well in English. Yeah, so when the script is written in English, storyboard is written in English, we will need to translate it. But we have done it with Ankama, the French. Mutafukazu was a collaboration with the French studio, and yes, there will be a little more time for us to translate everything and for them to translate everything in Japanese, but we could communicate and develop something good. So there's a good chance for us to fully collaborate together, but it could add some more time.
Yes, and for other countries that might be actually an advantage. I know that for Singapore or for the Philippines, English is not at all a problem. Whoever you meet, you probably have a absolutely fluent communication, so that's not an issue.
I mean, in general, yes, certainly for Singapore and the Philippines. Southeast Asia is obviously a very big block, right? Something like 600 million people, but it's very fragmented. It's quite easy or tempting to look at it as just one block or one market, but it really isn't. In some ways, I wish it was, in terms of, you mentioned about humor or this, I think for Southeast Asia, it's a lot easier because we have imported a lot of Western content, animation, over a long time. So in that regard, and it's a reason why, the Philippines has been such a mainstay in, servicing for so many years, and now they're trying to some extent break out of it, right? I think with Southeast Asia, it was really heartening yesterday at the event to hear all these various government film funds coming up with their own schemes. Yeah, as a producer, I could feel my heart leap a little bit, but I also try to get my feet on the ground. Sometimes it's a lot of things are in the details. Many of these funds are very new, and I think many of these government agencies have taken a long time to make sure they hone them and come up with something that's structured, that's easy to understand, right? Not just for the international producers, but for their own country's producers, right? So as much as I like to say we don't want to rely on the government, for Southeast Asia, I think they really play an important role, right? Not really just from a financial sense, but also just in terms of being at events like this, being a liaison, giving the producers, the houses, the international exposure that they need, right? And to change the perception of Southeast Asia a little bit, right? On our part as producers, I think the onus is now on us to come up with really interesting ideas and stories, right? And be able to present some of the potential of some of these stories as something that perhaps a European partner would be interested in, not just as on a service work basis. Something like what Arvin has done, right? Something really unique with a different point of view. And to make sure that the other thing I realize a lot about many Asian creators, it's very easy to sometimes oversell your own culture and just think that this is, my mythology is going to sell around the world and all that. It's really not as simple, outside of your own market, really have to consider, the universal human story. It's easy to say, but it's also quite complex. Right, I think that's something that we have to work on a little bit more, and that's something perhaps European partners could also help us with.
Well, I think that's also the place where a partner such as a sales agent can come in the project, because it's the sales agent and distributor that is in contact with the audience and with other buyers. So maybe Simon, you can tell us about that. Like, what do you feel attracts the market, and how could you help the creators on the other side of the planet to actually shape the stories or package the stories in such a way that it works on the market?
Yeah, well, I always think, I was saying, we're, being based in Europe, I'm always got a foot in North America as well as an English-speaking person. So I look at all these projects from the point of view that, yes, we want to sell every territory in the world, but my main markets are English-speaking. And sometimes there is a lot of cultural issues between the Far East and Europe and North America. I mean, it's very difficult to make an independent film that is going to work everywhere in the world. I mean, it's an incredible challenge. Going back to my story about China, I said when China opened out 6-7 years ago, and Monkey King was part of that discussion, China would produce a film that traveled everywhere in the world within 5 years. And I've been proven wrong. They still haven't really launched a movie that has worked everywhere, and yet they've spent billions of dollars producing films. And I do think, it's an incredible challenge. One of the things about Chinese animation, and I see a lot of Chinese animation, is that they have some very strange characters, and characters that we in the West just don't understand. And I think that is one of the elements that, bringing on a sales agent day one helps you correct, and it helps you make it slightly more palatable for a worldwide audience. I think, as you say, Singapore, Indonesia, Philippines have done a lot of service work, so they're very used to working with the West. Japanese animation is incredible, but we've been trying to explain to some Japanese colleagues about working in Europe. I think there's a Japanese-France co-production treaty, isn't there?
I'm not sure.
No,
Maybe. No, Emmanuel Alain, you know probably that more better than I.
Is there a Japanese-French co-production?
Treaty,
No.
no.
So that immediately makes it difficult, and France, obviously, as you were saying, is financially is very strong. So in the end, Japan will probably end up producing films for themselves, financed by themselves, because it's just too complicated to work overseas. The other thing about being in Europe, and particularly in the UK, is all our financing tends to be institutional money, and therefore we always need a completion bond on every film. And that becomes complicated dealing with various territories in the Far East. I think in France it's slightly different, but we always the first question I always say is, are you going to bond your film? And of course, most of the answers are no. The other issue we have is that if I'm going to sell the film to the US, we need an E&O insurance. So you have to have, financially, you have to have E&O insurance as well. So you have to think about these additional elements when you're making the film. But financing between, Europe, getting finance from Europe into the Far East and vice versa is not straightforward either. But, Singapore has come up so many times over the last 3 or 4 months because as British people, we know there's a lot of Hong Kong people have moved to Singapore and set up bases there. So there's a lot of opportunities in that region at the moment, I think, or I hope anyway. But yeah, it's complicated, is the answer, but we hope it's going to work.
Yes, but at the same time, we see those first elements coming together, that there is the financing, and there are possibilities for actually even Southeast Asian or Asian productions coming to Europe, and not only to France. We always speak about France because it's the one that comes out, but I can speak for Slovakia, and we have some devices that would allow for those projects to come and have very good cash rebate and use local talent. So actually it's the reversed paradigm of servicing that would go now other way around. And I also see opportunities of different financing, be it governmental soft money in Southeast Asia, but also something that we don't really have in Europe that much, and that's equity.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for European films to go there, find a co-producer, maybe raise a little soft money, but also find some equity investors. So there start to be this, I think, interesting opportunities. And but actually, I would like to, in the last 10 minutes that we have, maybe ask also you in the audience whether you have questions, or whether there is somebody among you who already is entering in this courageous new step of co-productions between Europe and Asia. No questions. Anyone has experience of some sort of be it servicing? Was it a good experience or not? Yes, please, we have a question there. Please wait for the microphone. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sadia, and I'm from a small studio in Los Angeles. We're looking to do co-pros. We've gone from thrillers, and we just released our first animated short. That's why we're at Cannes. The thing is, the topics that we produce are very much based in Central Asia, because we're all about diversity. I'm just wondering if that Asia includes Central Asia, or is it just more like Southeast Asia? Thank you.
Well, Irvin and Ayumi will be better to answer this question.
Was that a geographical question, or what was? What was?
Yeah, it was a geographical question.
I'm sorry, I don't quite understand the question.
Sorry, I should have been more clear.
Yeah.
I mean, like, it's Spotlight Asia. Does that also include countries like in Central Asia, or is it more focused on the Far East and East Asia?
Yes. We discussed like what should be our focus in this particular panel, and we decided that Southeast Asia and the new opportunities coming from those countries would be, so Southeast Asia is something that probably in the north would include also Taiwan. Taiwan not perhaps geographically part of Southeast Asia, but inside this group, because they cooperate a lot together. But we then included also Japan, which is not Southeast Asia, right? If my geography is correct.
Yes, Simon said as Far East, right? Yeah, Far East Asia.
I say the Far East. But also, I mean, we haven't included India in this conversation, but of course India is a huge market, and obviously servicing studios and producers. I think the elements are similar, aren't they? Co-production, is the future, to be honest. I mean, I'm pitching movies every day. It's getting harder with the economic situation around the world to raise funds, to raise pre-sales in this market. It is getting tougher. And I say to everybody, the way forward is co-production. It really is. And we talked about this earlier. Smaller European territories need to co-produce with larger territories, like France and Germany and Spain. And equally, I think the future of Southeast Asia is co-producing with Europe, and trying to find a formula that can work in both regions. And when we talk about, I think, this is a global market, isn't it? And the diaspora means there is every nationality in every country. And I think over the last 10, 20 years, we've all learning about each other's cultures more and more, and diversity and everything. So, but I sit and pitch every day, and it's all about co-production going forward, I think.
And co-development. I think both
and I think that's what's
and I
clear
would
now,
add that with the experience of workshops.
I know this is more animated film, but co-productions is even more crucial, I think, for series, because I think the days of global deals, one commission, I don't know if it's over, but certainly it's not getting any easier, and we all have to find creative ways to finance independently. I think the co-productions is the way to go. That's been said for many years, but I think right now we're really at a stage where you really have to understand how it works, and the various film funds is going to play a very crucial role. They have to understand how it works and how to work with us and all the international partners as well. Yeah.
We'll have to wrap up, but before, just a very quick question, very quick answer. What is the place where we can meet you? Ayumi, what's your...
I am actually leaving tonight, but you can find me in Sinando.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully, please contact me if you're interested
But the
in
markets
co-production.
you attend, it's Cannes.
Yeah, this is my final day here, but we had a booth on the basement floor. Yeah.
Okay.
Japan
and in Japan,
Square.
what would be the markets, or in Asia that you attend?
Okay. Yeah, there's a good market in Tokyo happening in October. It's called well, it's the same time at Tokyo International Film Festival. Yeah, it's called TIFCOM. I hope people will come, producers will come to the market.
Yes.
It's a good market.
Erwin, for you, what are the markets that you attend? Where is the good place to meet you?
Meet me in Singapore. It's very small. Yeah, but I usually am at the MAPES, NSC, the Asia TV Forum in Singapore. Yeah, that's about it for now.
Jean-François, what are the markets that you attend?
Annecy forever. My preferred festivals, and a very nice, kind market. It's a nice place to network, to see a wide range of animation, from student to TV series, feature in the market, independent, many sales agents, many producers, the funds, all the European funds, for example, if you want to have more contacts with Europe, are there, but not only European. Then.
Simon,
And,
what about you?
so SC Films here, I'm at 24 La Croisette. If anyone wants to come and say hello, we are open tomorrow, but I'm closing tomorrow. But mainly, so I do the sales, so it's mainly Berlin and Cannes, Toronto, AFM are the big four. And as I only do films, Cartoon Movie and Annecy are the two animation events. A colleague of mine will go to Busan, which everyone was raving about this year, saying Korea was really good. Normally Film Arts as well, but I think there's a question mark about Film Arts at the moment. And then, maybe Singapore is the future.
Yeah.
ATF?
Yes, I believe so.
If you want to escape, from the winter, from Europe, go to ATF in Singapore in December. Yeah.
Yes, I think we will meet there, at least the five of us. So thank you very much for attending. We could definitely speak more. Thank you very much for you accepting. Just one final thank you. I would like to thank Alessandro Groplero from Ties That Bind and Alexandra Zakarchenko from the Marché du Film for organizing this. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.